made goods from local artisans. With the regular morning market paused for the event, the festival offers a unique way for Smyrna and Rutherford County residents to support local agriculture while celebrating the spirit of fall. That's all for now. For more local news in a quick, digestible format, check out the Rutherford Roundup podcast. I'm Dalton Barrett for News Radio WGNS, part of your Good Neighbor Network, and I'll talk to you later.
The Good Neighbor Network, on air and online at wgnsradio.com. Rutherford County's most trusted source for local news. CBS Radio News.
Poland's president after several Russian drones entered Polish territory overnight before they were shot down with help from NATO allies. The Kremlin denies it targeted Poland.
I'm Vicky Barker at the Foreign Desk in London. Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk warning Poles their country is at its closest to open conflict since World War II. This after Poland says it shot down multiple Russian drones over its territory overnight. NATO's regular Wednesday meeting reconfigured at Poland's request to consider what NATO's response should be.
There's concern for the remaining hostages in Gaza after yesterday's Israeli strike in Qatar that targeted top Hamas negotiators. The BBC's Wira Davis is in Jerusalem.
About 20 hostages are still thought to be alive. They were meant to be part of this so-called peace plan being discussed by the Hamas leaders as they sat down in Qatar. The prospects now for them are much less secure.
President Trump has just posted to social media calling for the death penalty for a North Carolina man accused of stabbing a young Ukrainian woman to death on a commuter train in Charlotte. The suspect will be arraigned today on upgraded charges. U.S. Attorney Russ Ferguson.
I'm here today to announce that we're going to supplement those state charges with federal charges. These federal charges will go alongside the murder case in state court, and we hope that they will ensure justice for Erna, for her family, and for the whole Charlotte community.
Officials say the 23-year-old was on her way home from work when she was attacked. Court records show the suspect has been arrested 14 times before. Missouri's Republican-led House has approved a congressional redistricting plan that would give the GOP 7 of the state's 8 congressional seats. The Missouri Senate will vote on the proposed map today. Democrat Emanuel Cleaver's Kansas City district would be split in 3.
The will of the people of Missouri is being substituted for ideology.
He and the Congressional Black Caucus are urging peaceful protests. Today marks the official peak of the Atlantic hurricane season. There were predictions of a busy and potentially destructive year, but so far there's not a single storm in sight. CBS News meteorologist Rob Marciano.
We've got that warm water, but there's atmospheric things happening that are limiting these storms from developing. Very big subtropical high, larger and stronger than usual. A lot of sinking air, very stable area. That coupled with dust coming off the Sahara, and a lot of that's been going on. And we have shear as well. All of this is limiting tropical storm development.
The Dow's down 89 points in early trading. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-497-0593. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-497-0593. That's 800-497-0593. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
This is Chip Walters, and I'll have Middle Tennessee football and basketball games for you right here.
MTSU Sports on WGNS AM, FM, online.
For 75 years, Murfreesboro Medical Clinic has been a cornerstone of health and compassion in our community. From our humble beginnings to the advanced, comprehensive care we offer today, our commitment to you has never wavered. With 8 locations across Murfreesboro and Middle Tennessee and over 100 physicians, we continue to provide the highest standard of care. Then, now, and always, your health is our mission.
We were scheduled to do this a little bit ago, but it didn't work out. Glad that you're able to come today. It's always fun to catch up.
Thank you, Chip. Always happy to be here. Happy to be on WGNS here in the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios. And to be with you, Chip, as always. And by the way, if I had enough power to affect the weather, I assure you I would want many more days like we've had the last couple of weeks. It's been beautiful, and that's what we love.
Exactly. Well, at this time of year, one of the things that is going on is you guys just completed here in the last week or two your annual meeting.
Yes.
Which one of the byproducts of COVID was the annual meeting became virtual and became available to a much larger audience. So for folks who have not had a chance to see it, it's still up on YouTube.
Yes.
And they can do that. But kind of give us a recap of what went on.
Yeah. So annual meeting is something special and unique to the cooperative, electric cooperative way, as part of who we are. And we've had one ever since we started in 1936.
Is that part of what's in the bylaws that you'll have an annual meeting?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is. So, and it's multifaceted in its purpose. Some practical, fundamental pieces to it is annual meeting is when the membership elects its board of directors and its nominating committee. The nominating committee, of course, nominates the candidates for the board of directors. So we had that election. I'll touch on that in a minute. But also, it's a time for us to provide information to our members and to engage with them in a way that is very intentional. Not that we can't engage anytime. We always want to engage sincerely with our membership, but it's a set-aside time to engage. So we take questions and we do our best to respond to those. And so it's something that our team always looks very much forward to. And like you mentioned, it's a virtual meeting now, so we have the capability of reaching many more people than we did before, and accommodating more people than we could before when it was an in-person meeting. The last in-person meeting we had, like you mentioned, pre-COVID, 2019, was at the NBC Suites, and we had a couple of thousand people. We were full.
Right.
And so when you think about what's happened since then, which would include the coming together of MTE and Murfreesboro Electric, thinking about accommodating a larger audience is really challenging in terms of where we would house that. But now we can. There's no limit to how many people we can accommodate on the virtual meeting.
Yeah, and I can remember the days when you used to have it at Murphy Center, I guess.
Yes.
And you'd have all the you had the fun part of that. You had all the equipment out there. You had the bucket trucks and all that, and you got to show off a lot of your equipment. But you're right. Now with the virtual meetings and still, you've kept away for people to be able to interact and again to ask questions like we mentioned here. You can, if you missed the meeting, you can ask your questions here today of Chris. But that is, you all do a really nice job of putting on a watchable production of that meeting and like you said, I've watched it almost every year and you go through certain things that are part of what you have to do by your bylaws, and then
certainly,
and then some extra stuff in there as well.
Yeah, and we want it to be something you can enjoy watching, like you said, Chip. But also on the practical piece, it's time for the board elections. Now how that happens, just to make sure everyone understands, is that candidates have to be qualified. They have to be nominated by the nominating committee or filed by petition. And then the membership, anyone who receives power from Middle Tennessee Electric is a member. And so the membership elects its board of directors. They are the representative voice of the membership. They set policy. And so every year, 4 seats are up for election. And the way that members vote, you vote in person at any office of Middle Tennessee Electric, and you can vote the week prior to annual meeting, on annual meeting day, and also on the Saturday before the annual meeting. So there are several days there in a row that any member can come in and vote. And you vote at large, by the way. We have sub-districts, so we have people that represent from Rutherford County, from Williamson, from Wilson, from Cannon. But as a member, you vote at large for all of those board seats. So we encourage members to participate in that way for sure. And we have a great board, and I can assure the members out there that the board is highly motivated to serve the membership very well, and they do. And so very proud of the board that we have.
Yeah, how many members on the board did you say?
There are 12 directors on the board, and 5 of those are from Rutherford County, including 2 from within the city of Murfreesboro.
And is it basically divided up based on percentages of population of where over the 4-county area that you cover?
It kind of, sort of, especially when you look at Rutherford, Williamson, and Wilson. And of course, again, Cannon County basically is its own district on its own. We have 1 board member from there, Charlie Bowman, who currently sits in that seat. And so when you look across those sub-districts, they're fairly close in population, but the many of the sub-districts were set many years ago, and it's turned out to be a pretty good thing. And it turns out that those sub-districts are divided fairly well by population. Some of those have emerged by virtue of the way that the cooperative has evolved over the many decades to include mergers with municipal systems that were within our service territory, including Franklin back in 1970, Lebanon in 2000, and then Murfreesboro in 2020. So some of those sub-districts emerged by virtue of those mergers.
Yeah, and we've talked about the acquisition of Murfreesboro Electric, and I hear Mayor McFarland on here talk about how that has been, a seamless transition. That was the goal all along. When it came time, it was, you think back now, hindsight's always 20/20, and there were some people that had some concerns about it, but the great part was all of the employees came out whole, and for consumers and who are members of the cooperative, they get great service, and with a bigger cooperative and bigger than what Murfreesboro Electric was, which was landlocked basically, they have been able to take advantage of more and better technology, including being able to look at my app this morning and see, okay, there's 6 people that have outages in Williamson County this morning, and we're okay, my bill is this much, it's due, and all of that kind of stuff. But it has been a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely, and very proud of that.
Matter of fact, I saw a thing you and Shane did not too long ago.
Yeah, that should be, I think, on the city's website, right. The podcast the city does, and I was privileged to be able to do that with the mayor. And no, but I appreciate you saying that, Chip, because You're right. That's exactly what we set out for it to be. We intended it for it to be. Was we were creating a new opportunity, and there was, as a standalone utility, Murfreesboro Electric was a great utility. Middle Tennessee Electric was a great utility, and by coming together, we're even better together. And so, again, we leverage those synergies to become something very special. I think when you look across the country, with regard to electric utilities, we routinely score in the top 10% in customer satisfaction by J.D. Power rankings across the country. So by any measure you want to take, we are among the best utilities in the country. We want to be the very best for those that we serve, and that's what our intention is. But I think that our size, we're kind of in a sweet spot. You can be in my opinion, you can be too big as a utility where it becomes hard to manage on a kind of a personal kind of a level with your customers. And you can certainly be too small because the challenges with the utility are fixed costs. I mean, there are significant costs, long-term fixed costs that a utility has to bear to render the service that it needs to render. And we, by virtue, I think, of our size, being in that sweet spot, we have enough economies of scale to spread out those fixed costs to keep it very reasonable. So we're very affordable, we're reliable, we can leverage the technology that you just touched on, Chip, that all of our members have access to. That app, for example, I think is a really good example of how a new capability that went in 2000 when Murfreesboro customers became part of the larger organization, they had access to pretty much right away. Those kinds of things, again, working together. I'm just very proud of what we accomplished. And you mentioned the employees. That was something very important to me, to make sure those employees were taken care of. And we always looked at it philosophically, Chip, as a merger, not as an acquisition. We were coming together. We were in this together, going to do this together, and I think that made a big difference.
Yeah, and now you look at what the city, and Mayor McFarland talks about it a lot, that they're very proud that they put safeguards in place, that the funds derived from the purchase or as part of the merger per se, he's very proud to say we've made it where the city council could not put their hands on it, and to set it up to where it is, where the funds of that are to be used for the greater good, and they've almost tripled what they've been able to do for nonprofits due to that kind of thing. So a lot of things came out of that.
Yeah, it's phenomenal what they've done already and what they're set up to do. Those funds continue to grow, but like you said, they're helping nonprofits more than they have been able to before because of that. My understanding, they're using some of the money for road projects to offset costs that would otherwise be, have to be borne by the citizens. And still, though, that those funds are growing over time. So
they're not
much value.
They're not touching the principle on it.
Exactly. So wonderful.
Yeah, as we sit here on September the 10th, your thought on the state of the cooperative is it's in really good shape right now.
Yes, for MTE, and when I think about MTE and what I'm dealing with right now and working on, Chip, I'm very bullish and excited about the future of MTE, and that includes things like United Communications, and we can talk about that too.
Yep, on my list.
Okay, and so MTE is in great shape. We want to be better and continue to get better. We're not going to settle, and we want to be as good as we can for those we serve. My concerns would gravitate more toward TVA for the long term, and of course they're our power supplier, and they're constrained in certain ways, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that. So. Couldn't be prouder and more excited about MTE. Excited about the potential of TVA, but the concerns about TVA that are multifaceted are certainly there and on my mind, and I'm working on quite a bit along with other utility peers and with TVA leadership.
Yeah. Any idea how many different utilities TVA services?
Yeah, 153. So we MTE is one of the 153. We're the third largest of the 153. The largest two would be Memphis, Light Gas and Water, and Nashville Electric Service. Actually, Nashville Electric now is a little larger in terms of the number of customers they have, but MLGW still distributes more power. So those are 1 and 2, but we're right there, with them. We're number 3. And they can go from utilities of our size to utilities that are very, very small that they serve. But 153 across the valley.
And obviously they've been in the news lately.
Yes.
And how do you foresee that coming out?
Yeah, I wish I could.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear what I have to say here.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. Certainly, there's been more political, on a national level, turmoil with TVA than we've seen in a very long time. So, it's interesting in that TVA is very unique. And you cut me off when you need to, because this may take me a while.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Okay,
let's hold that, and we'll get into that in where we have a little more time after the break. But first, Don Witherspoon is online, and Don, you had a couple of things you wanted to talk about real quick. Number one, tomorrow's 9/11, and MTSU puts on a 9/11 remembrance ceremony. That's going to be tomorrow morning at 7:30, correct?
That's correct, at the Bell Street Miller Education Building, and I appreciate you mentioning that. Also, I wanted to comment on your having Chris on. And just tell Chris that we sure appreciate everything that he and the company does for local charities, and Chris particularly is a big supporter of our local United Way, and we greatly appreciate that. The other thing is that a lot of folks may not know that Chris is a famous author. Every month we get to see his writings in the Tennessee Magazine that's published by the Electric Corporation, and I think you do a great job with that, Chris. And with that, I'll hang up and listen.
All right.
Have a good day, guys.
All right. Don said he was complimenting you on the being the writer that you are in the Tennessee Magazine every month. But we appreciate Don, and again, the 9/11 ceremony tomorrow morning at 7:30 at the Miller Education Center on the MTSU campus. We'll step aside. Back with Chris Jones, the CEO of Middle Tennessee Electric, here on the Roundtable.
For 75 years, Murfreesboro Medical Clinic has been a cornerstone of health and compassion in our community. From our humble beginnings to the advanced, comprehensive care we offer today, our commitment to you has never wavered. With 8 locations across Murfreesboro and Middle Tennessee and over 100 physicians, we continue to provide the highest standard of care. Then, now, and always, your health is our mission.
Get ready for an unforgettable night and support First Shot. Autumn at the Alley is coming to Oakland's Mansion Tuesday, September 24th from 6 to 9 p.m. Sip on fine bourbon, wine, and spirits, enjoy premium cigars, and feast on incredible food from the Alley on Main, all while enjoying live music under the stars. Proceeds benefit First Shot's Academic All-Stars and Send a Kid to Camp programs. Find out more on their Facebook page and through Eventbrite. Autumn at the Alley, September 24th.
Are you tired of feeling like just another number with your insurance provider? At Rayburn Insurance Agency in Smyrna, Agent Rick Hall prides himself on offering personalized service that puts you first. Every client's needs are unique. From personal home and auto coverage to tailored business insurance, Rick Hall's got you covered. Rick Hall at Rayburn Insurance Agency in Smyrna, where you're more than just a policy number. You're a neighbor.
Junior.
Yep.
Lady?
Yeah, they have it.
Gigantic.
You know it.
What about mega?
Yep, they've got that one too. When it comes to jumbo bucks, winning is the name of the game. In fact, Tennessee lottery players win an average of $2.3 million a day on jumbo bucks games alone. So find your jumbo-sized fun today. The Tennessee Lottery, game-changing fun. Please play responsibly.
Jumbo jumbo?
Oh yeah, they even have that one.
Good Neighbor Events is brought to you by the law offices of John Day, AmeriCare Pest Control, and Old National Bank.
This is a paid legal ad.
When a family member is lost as a result of someone else's negligence, the grief can be unbearable. It also leaves you with a lot of questions like, how did this happen? Who's responsible? And is my family going to be okay? That's a lot to go through, but with the law offices of John Day on your side, you don't have to go through any of it alone. We understand what you're going through, and we have the experience to get the answers, justice, and compensation your family deserves. Call the law offices of John Day.
WGNS encourages you to shop local. Let's patronize our local family businesses. It's time to paint those bowls for Cookin' to Build, and you can do that right now through October the 15th at Color Me Mine. That's in the Avenue of Murfreesboro. Paint your bowl for Cookin' to Build, now through October the 15th. And then the big event's November 1st, Cookin' to Build, all around the Rutherford County Courthouse. It all benefits Habitat for Humanity. The big yard sale to benefit the Alzheimer's Association is this Friday and Saturday over at the Stones River Manor. Lots of bargains, and whatever you buy benefits the Alzheimer's Association. Starts at 7 o'clock each morning, this Friday and Saturday at Stones River Manor. That's on Haynes Drive, just off Memorial. In Smyrna, the Top Gun 6K night run is Friday night, 7:30, starting at the Smyrna Rutherford County Airport and heading over to the Captain Jeff Cuss Memorial. That's the Smyrna Top Gun night run this Friday night. Starts at 7:30. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Rutherford weather.
We'll see mostly sunny skies here this afternoon, a high in the upper 80s. Tonight, mostly clear, low near 63. Thursday, sunny, high of 90. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki from the WGNS Rutherford Weather Center.
Currently, it's 62.
WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. MTE's Plugged In podcast focuses on the world of electric vehicles. Stay up to date on the EV world, hear interviews with experts, and more. Listen on your favorite podcast platform or visit mte.com/pluggedin.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Chris Jones, the CEO of Middle Tennessee Electric, joins us today, and we were kind of talking about the status of TVA right before the break, and it seemed for a long time that TVA just kind of did its thing, and now it is, like I said, they've kind of been in the news, and as this thing moves forward, I mean, we sit in an area where we have the lowest utility rates due to TVA in the country, and so I'm not sure why we need to mess with that.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. So I'll dial back just a bit if I could, Chip. So one is that we are unique. The Tennessee Valley Authority and what we call the public power model, which includes those 153 local power companies like MTE. Mm-hmm. We're a unique model in the country, and TVA is unique also in that it is owned by the federal government. And the board of directors of TVA are nominated by the President of the United States. Mm-hmm. And confirmed by the Senate. That's the only utility in the country like that. Yeah. So it is naturally then given somewhat to politics, and certainly the political atmosphere is one that we're having to watch very closely. And as you mentioned, TVA in the last few years, for the first time in my career, has had, and it is having, more challenges in meeting the demand for power with its generating facilities. So now TVA has done some things in the last few years to help that, but when you look at the projected demand curve versus what TVA is able to deliver with its own generating assets, we're coming up on some breaking points. Mm-hmm. And there are many things that contribute to that, and I'll touch on a few of them, such as we know that our area is growing quickly, so there are more customers. We are tending to use more power at peak demand times than we did before. So when it gets really hot in the afternoon in the summer, when it's really cold in the morning in the wintertime. So peak demand is going up. And then you have the prospect of things like data centers coming online. And there are lots of people knocking on our door, knocking on doors of utilities across the valley and TVA to say, hey, we want to bring a significant data center to, you name the area. And those data centers are have a demand for power that's unlike anything that we have on our system right now. Like, for example, Nissan is our biggest customer. They draw, at their peak, considerable amount of power to, and if you've been to Nissan, that's a huge complex.
Mm-hmm. It's like its own city.
It is, but let's say that they draw about 50 or so megawatts. Well, when you compare that, the data center conversations we're having, some of these data centers are talking about 500 or 1,000 megawatts for one data center.
So 10 to 20 times what the Nissan plant would draw.
For example, there are some conversations about 1,000 megawatt data centers out there. The entire Middle Tennessee Electric system, our whole system at peak, we draw typically about 2,100, 2,200 megawatts. So you're talking about half of the system size. These are figures like we've never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we're talking about and the need for those data centers. They are what make AI and the future of AI, artificial intelligence, and all of it. What it can bring makes that possible. To crunch that data, the computers, the servers that are needed to do that. So these things are on their way. We've just got to figure out how to do it. So the challenge is on the demand side, but then on the generation side, TVA is, I think, necessarily decarbonizing its fleet. So the coal assets that TVA has, those are sunsetting. All of them are at the end of their life anyway. So that's probably a good thing on multiple fronts. So,
yeah.
But still, we got to replace that generation. To me, nuclear is an important part of the equation. Right now, nuclear provides the majority of the electricity in terms of the overall portfolio. When I say majority,
more so than hydro.
More so, hydro, and growing up, I thought TVA hydro, that was basically all the generation. But hydro is about 10 or 12%.
Really?
Depending how much water is in the reservoirs and the rivers and how much rain we're getting, 10 to 12%. Nuclear now is 43%. So it supplies the most by any other compared to any other asset, and now second place would be natural gas fired generation facilities, and then coal is only now about 15 or so percent, and that number is going down. So in the meantime, right now TVA is bringing on more natural gas generation online, which they need to do. But the future, I think, for nuclear is important and necessary, and it excites me. So, but that's more long term. So I'm saying a lot here, Chip. So what though has happened on the political front is that with the change in administration, the TVA board that was sitting were all appointees of the former administration.
Gotcha.
And so now that there's time for some of those board members to roll over, the CEO of TVA earlier this year, the chief executive officer, retired, so they were replacing that CEO. The administration and others had interest in that. It kind of didn't go the way that they suggested that it go in terms of process. So there's been lots of turmoil, and so the president has fired a number of the existing board members. So right now there are only 3 sitting board members for the Tennessee Valley Authority. There's a total of 9. They don't have a quorum. They need 5 for a quorum. So the board cannot.
They really can't do business.
The board cannot do business.
Yeah.
So right now a process is underway. The president has nominated 5 people for the TVA board. The Senate has to hear and confirm those board members. The expectation is that likely that won't happen until the end of this year. So TVA is operating right now without a board quorum. They can still operate, and I don't have worries about them delivering power. But at some point, that has to change, and those board members have to be seated. And you've got all this political kind of angst and turmoil with regard to TVA right now, which is concerning.
Well, and where that again, like you said, it doesn't necessarily affect the day-to-day operations of what goes on at Wheeler Dam or wherever, but when it comes to making big decisions on where they're going to put a new facility or things like that, that's where things have to be voted on, and all of that. Let's kind of morph into nuclear. Obviously, the old Hartsville plant, proposed Hartsville plant that was shuttered back when as it was being built, that one cooling tower has been sitting there and has become a landmark in Trousdale County, and I think it is supposed to be coming down later this month. But the question about nuclear is, back in the 70s when we started hearing about nuclear power, it was these giant nuclear power plants, and you would have issues like up in the Northeast and that kind of thing. But the new age of nuclear power generation is different than what may be the stereotype in our minds. Is that correct?
I think so, yeah. And right now there is more, I'm happy to say, more public acceptance with the idea of nuclear and new nuclear than there's ever been before.
And there's always been the NIMBYs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Not in my backyard.
Absolutely, and that's for anything.
Yes.
But yes, that's exactly right. And I'll say this: nuclear has demonstrated itself to be, of all the modes of power generation, the safest of any. And this is globally. Any incident that happens with a nuclear plant, you're going to hear about it and there haven't been that many. Now, and I'm not trying to minimize the effects of Fukushima and things that happen in Russia and things like that, but overall, the nuclear energy industry has demonstrated itself to be very safe, especially in our country. But Chip, you're right too. Though the new kind of next generation nuclear power plants and generation facilities, reactors we're talking about, some of those are taking those large plants and reactors you talked about and just reducing the size and scale and complexity, making small modular reactors, as they're called. And also there are new types of technology that are being tested, and they're proving themselves to be viable, that use slightly different methodologies and technology. So I think new nuclear, it's very exciting. Now, the issue is the cost, the upfront cost. Now, when you build a nuclear plant, it's going to last for 100 years. So the upfront cost, though, is where the burden is. And so the federal government, and I think something of this administration, they want to make a legacy issue, is to facilitate the furtherance and the acceleration of nuclear energy. So I'm excited about that. TVA is a logical venue, if you will, a logical outlet, a developer for nuclear. We've got the history of the TVA. We've got Oak Ridge. Tennessee is primed and ready. There are a number of businesses in Tennessee that support nuclear, more than 200. The Governor Lee, has been an outspoken voice to support new nuclear. So we've got lots of momentum right now. We need to continue to seize on that. And the federal government does need to step in and provide, in my opinion, more funding to help minimize that upfront cost we're talking about. So you mentioned Hartsville a while ago, and TVA has some sites right now, like, for example, in Bellefonte, there's a site called Bellefonte in North Alabama that was almost built to completion a few decades ago. I would love to see that restarted. I mean, there's so much infrastructure already there. I think there are other purposes for Hartsville that will come into play ultimately. I'm not so sure nuclear, but other generation possibilities that may come into play there. But we need more power
right,
as quick as we can, as safe as we can. And so TVA has its work cut out for us, but we're going to be supporting them.
Yeah, and you were talking about, the people are moving. The footprint of TVA is the area where people are moving to.
Yes.
And so that's kind of a coincidence, but it is what it is. And we also talked about, speaking of shuttered projects, before we went on, we were talking about the Columbia Dam, and TVA, when they started their dam projects back in the 30s, that along the Tennessee River, and since then have moved into other river systems, that there was flood control, power generation, and now as more and more people are moving into this area, need for water. So, and I know you're not in the water business, but the need for water and the need for power kind of go hand in hand.
Exactly right. And by the way, speaking of data centers, I mentioned a while ago, they have enormous power demand. They also have enormous water demand. To cool the systems. That's right. So yes,
I saw one of those up near Gallatin.
Yeah.
And it is unbelievable. It's Meta owns it,
right?
And it is gigantic. And it's you kind of look at it and you go, okay, what is that? And
right.
And but man, it's I don't know what all they do, but it's big.
Chip, I agree, and that's actually a smaller scale data center. Yes, it is. So the kinds we're talking about that are potentially coming online are going to be enormous in every sense of the word.
Okay, quick talk here a little bit about we're in hurricane season.
Yeah.
And every year we end up with hurricanes hitting somewhere, and power utilities from all across the Southeast, all across the country, as a matter of fact, will come together to help wherever, whether it's along the East Coast or the Gulf Coast. And do you all have like a standby, knowing that, okay, this may happen? We keep X number of line trucks, things like that, at the ready in case, and obviously we all follow the weather. So
sure, I mean and we do watch this closely, Chip. So typically, how that works is
that through FEMA?
Well, assistance will come through FEMA,
right.
But how we will manage these situations, electric cooperatives tend to help each other, and so the statewide organizations or associations that work with electric cooperatives, what will happen more often than not, let's just hypothetically say a hurricane is approaching Florida, and typically we have days to prepare for it. Well, Florida and then the statewide associations of the Southeast will typically begin to early on collaborate in discussions and planning. And so those statewide organizations will begin to think about how they can dispatch certain numbers of crews to an affected area. And hurricanes don't always follow the projected path, so we have to be kind of nimble in that regard. And so what we will do is that typically if a hurricane hits, we're going to begin to execute on a plan that's already set. So, for example, and I can't remember the name, I guess Hurricane Helene that hit. We were assigned, if I remember correctly, to assist South Carolina as that was manifesting itself. Well, things changed quite a bit. That it tracked very quickly, hit North Carolina and Tennessee very, very hard.
Right.
So we ended up going and kind of shifted and going to help first East Tennessee, and then we helped Western North Carolina. So
and you had people gone for how long?
For a couple of weeks typically. Yeah. So and we can have people come in shifts and things like that. We also have a number of contract crews that we employ because we're growing so fast, so much construction. So you'll see trucks out there here in Murfreesboro for Service Electric, for Groves Electric. Those are electric contractors that we employ to help us with our construction. We will typically release those kinds of crews first to go help with that storm damage, and then it will be our people. So another thing that we have to watch too is these hurricanes come in and they will, they'll come inland. We have to make sure that our members are taken care of, primarily first. So we have to watch and monitor those situations. But then we can begin to release crews and assist, and sometimes those efforts take many, many weeks.
Yeah. Chris Jones is our guest today, the CEO of Middle Tennessee Electric. Back with our final segment with Chris right after this here on WGNS.
For 75 years, Murfreesboro Medical Clinic has been a cornerstone of health and compassion in our community. From our humble beginnings to the advanced, comprehensive care we offer today, our commitment to you has never wavered. With 8 locations across Murfreesboro and Middle Tennessee and over 100 physicians, we continue to provide the highest standard of care. Then, now, and always, your health is our mission.
What's the location of your emergency? I think my kid OD'd.
Hi, I'm Craig Harris, I'm County Commissioner of Rutherford County. One of the reasons I ran for office is because I wanted to bring awareness to the opioid epidemic that's impacting our county. To stop providing this epidemic with people as we educate. We have a lot to do, and we have to come together as a community because this problem is not going away.
I'll be right there.
It takes all of us to power a community, both in plain sight and behind the scenes. Middle Tennessee Electric, bringing good energy.
Broadcasting from the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios, MTE Sharing Change has now donated more than $11 million to local nonprofits assisting worthy causes in our community. MTE, serving to make life better since 1936.
This is Chip Walters, and I'm honored to be your 2024 MTAR Realtor of the Year. I'm with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates, and like many of you, I've seen the real estate market shift and change. People often ask, Chip, what's really going on? Well, that's a great question, and I believe in answering with solid, factual data. So let's cut through some of the noise. I invite you to reach out. Let's have a conversation about your real estate goals and the current market trends in your neighborhood. You can find all my contact information at choosechip.net.
Premier 6 Theater on Broad in Jackson Heights.
Let's all go to the movies.
Check out what's showing at murfreesboromovies.com. Popcorn popped fresh daily.
Movies at the good old Premier 6.
Premier 6 on Broad in Jackson Heights.
We're visiting with Jennifer Sanchez, manager of Steered Straight 2 Furniture and Thrift at 1007 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard.
You're not just walking into just a big warehouse, you're walking into rooms. We've got a media room, we've got a boutique room, we've got a vintage room, a furniture area, kitchen, all that.
Steered Straight 2 Furniture and Thrift.
Every day you go in there, I promise you it's changing.
Steered Straight 2 Furniture and Thrift, 1007 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Online at steeredstraightthriftstore.org.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Welcome back into the Wednesday Roundtable. Chip Walters with you from Exit Realty, Bob Lamb & Associates, and the Blue Raider Network. You're ready to head out to Nevada this week for middle football, and Chris Jones is here, the CEO of Middle Tennessee Electric. And you know, during the break, we were talking about the storm that came through last Friday night. Mm-hmm. That it was a heavy electrical storm, and with your operations center and talk about the smart grid and what that can mean as you continue to build out with fiber and your smart meters, things like that, to be able to know where outages are and how to respond.
Sure. No, I appreciate that, Jim. So the system gets smarter every year by virtue of the investments we're making in leveraging technology, and you mentioned fiber optic being part of that. So, you know, we acquired United Communications in 2018. Again, another one of those kind of philosophical merger situations, but we've leveraged that investment to do a few things. One of them was to bring broadband high-speed internet to areas that didn't have it before, and we have now thousands of our members who have high-speed internet that didn't have it before because of that, but also because fiber optic and stringing that across our system, we're able to leverage that with the electric system and to improve communications, the way that the system communicates and devices talk to each other, if you will. So the more that we can implement those fiber optics throughout the system, the more capability we have to make the system smarter. So yeah, we have this to an extent today, but we're looking at a day whenever an outage occurs, the system will know exactly where it is, will pinpoint it, and will instantaneously begin to take actions to isolate that outage, to minimize it. You still have to go fix the problem.
Right.
But as many as possible are brought back online quickly. So this notion of a smart grid, that's a fundamental piece of it, easy to understand piece of it, where we can improve an outage situation. But yeah, the system as it, and we're going to have, we already do, but we're going to have one of the most advanced electric systems in the world. And so we're excited about the opportunities that smart grid brings.
Yeah, and what is the timetable you see on that to get to where you want to be with it?
Yeah, that's a good question, Chip, because it's part of the answer would be it will be an ever-evolving process, because when we achieve a certain milestone, then okay, well, technology caught up and passed a certain point, so you keep working and keep getting better. But I'm thinking in the next 5 or 10 years, we're going to have a smart grid that is as good as any, and we're good right now. Don't take this the wrong way. I mean, we have advanced capabilities in so many respects compared to other utilities, but to be just like on that very leading edge of where we want to be, I think that's where we'll be in short order.
Yeah, is from being a leader in technological upgrades, what are things out there besides smart grid that we're going to be seeing in the not too distant future, as far as electric utilities and what they can, what can make them better from a technology standpoint.
Yeah, so there are several things, but one thing I'll mention quickly, and that we're working on, and hopefully we'll bring on one part of it online as early as next year, would be battery storage systems. So where we are able to implement on our own and own on our own a battery storage system, or I should say plural battery storage systems. But the one we're looking at for next year will be a 30 megawatt battery storage project, and we would implement that in such a way that we could take advantage of discharging. We store up charge those batteries up, but discharge those batteries during a time of peak demand, which helps us in terms of managing that demand, but also in terms of lowering the costs that we incur from TVA. So it's a benefit to our members on multiple fronts. But it also ultimately can make us more resilient. So the more we can do things like battery storage, the system was built in such a way that it was centralized over many decades. Well, we're beginning to decentralize the system now for the opportunity to bring more renewable resources online, renewable generation like solar and things like battery storage, but also to make the system ultimately more resilient, so we can isolate and have more flexibility.
Right. If you're centralized and central command goes down, you're kind of out of luck. But now if you have these pods, for a lack of a better term, you can isolate an issue. It's in a certain area. That'll be interesting. So does TVA charge you like on peak demand? Like do they kind of charge you more when the demand is higher?
Yeah, that's right.
So this is a way if you store it in in batteries that you can then discharge it out into the system, and you're not pulling as much from TVA at that moment.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
So, and again, now we're talking about it's a significant investment, but it's an investment that will pay for itself. But you think about what I mentioned a while ago, our peak demand, like on right now, demand peak tends to be in the wintertime. We've had some cold winters lately, so when it gets around zero, a cold morning, that's when we hit our all-time peak.
More so than the 100-degree days in July.
More so than summer. Now, traditionally we've been a summer peaking system, but now we're with these 0-degree temperatures we've seen the last few years.
I would think
that's when we hit our peak.
I would think with as many people that might have gas heat. But still, there's a lot of folks, I guess, with heat pumps out there.
When you think about those heat pumps, and it's a wonderful technology that works beautifully 98% of the time, but when it gets below 30 degrees and that auxiliary heat pops on and stays on when it's below 30 degrees, that's using a good bit of electricity. That drives up electric bills too. So everyone, be cognizant of that. But we have a lot of heat pumps on our system, so that helps to drive that peak. But that peak again is around 2,200 megawatts for us. So let's say the peak is 2,230 megawatts. If we have that 30 megawatt battery installation, it reduces that peak from 2,230 to 2,200. That's a little bit, but in terms of dollars and what we're charged by TVA, it's millions of dollars that we can save ultimately from managing that peak in a different way.
And that goes back initially to pay for the investment, and like you said, it ends up paying for itself and then becomes a cost saver.
It's a quick payback. Yes, sir. That's right.
That's pretty interesting.
Excited about that.
One of the when you talk about partnerships and working together, we talked about how Middle Tennessee Electric worked with the city of Murfreesboro to merge with the electric departments. Well, same kind of conversations happened out on Veterans Parkway with land. The Middle Tennessee Electric owned about 75 acres of land that you were looking to put the new headquarters on. The city had a need for a park. They had land over off of 840, and it worked out to where the land that you all had fit the park better, where the land the city had probably fit your needs better. So talk about how the meeting of the minds happened there, and that has started to come about.
Yeah, it's another one of those many examples of how the synergies of the merger made something better. And so, and really what happened was, Chip, the mayor called one day and said, we're thinking about possibilities for the future. We want to build a park. We want some area to do some things with. But this property we own has been designated as the #1 economic development site in the county by several services. And so we began to think about, well, what if we just swap properties? I mean, the property we have is really more conducive to what you're talking about, and it's bordered to some extent by neighborhoods, so park would work a lot better there. And then we can,
and it's underway,
right,
by the way.
And we now, because we're merged, we no longer have a need to build a corporate new headquarters in the county, which we were thinking about, because at that time we didn't serve the city, but now we do. And so we don't need that corporate headquarters anymore the same way we were thinking. So we can use that property that we swapped with the city now for economic development. It was tabbed as the #1 site in the county, so let's leverage that. So that's what we're doing right now. We are, along with TVA, the state of Tennessee, the Chamber of Commerce, we are marketing that site for an opportunity, and we're going to be choosy. We've talked in Murfreesboro, Rutherford County for a while about, we would like to see more corporate headquarters come to our community. And so that's what we're targeting.
We're
going to wait for the right opportunity, and we're excited about it. There have been some prospects that have considered it, and some of that the state keeps from me, and what I do know, I'm not in a position to share. But again, we want to create the best opportunity we can for Murfreesboro, Rutherford County with the marketing of that site.
Yeah, we're down to our final 3 or 4 minutes here with Chris Jones, and one area I want to jump in here at the end is sharing change. You just heard a liner during our last commercial break. It said that over $11 million has been given back to the communities that MTE serves through the Sharing Change program. You have an update that's now over $12 million.
Over $12 million, yeah.
And that is such a simple thing to do. Basically, on your bill, you just round up to the next dollar. And I mean, in the most you're going to, that's 99 cents is the most you're ever going to round up on any given month. And when more and more people do that, the more and more you all can have an effect on people who need it.
That's right. We call it the easiest good thing you can do, and it is simple, like you said, Chip. And so we encourage everyone, if you look at your bill, and if your bill's not an even number, you're not signed up. So we encourage people to sign up, of course, and those little bits of change coming together with thousands of members makes a real difference. And 100% of that money, 100% of it goes to community causes, not-for-profit organizations. We don't peel off any of it.
Yep.
None of it. And there's a separate board that the MTE board appoints to serve as the Sharing Change board, and that board will evaluate grant requests that are submitted by these different causes and organizations for the community, and then they decide how to distribute that money, and it's made a tremendous difference. It's something the membership should be very proud of. I know that we are.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one way you affect the community. MTE is also very active at getting out and sharing your story within your footprint, and one that I'm looking forward to next Saturday, which will be MTSU homecoming. That means that the old grilled cheese wagon will be out there. That has been such a popular.
Yes.
And I don't know who had the wild idea, but man, it has been great.
Yeah. Well, it was Jay Sanders, our community relations coordinator manager, and he does a phenomenal job, and that was his idea, and we were all kind of skeptical about it at the start, but he was right on with it. And it's just a way for us to, it's a touch point, it's something nice, and those grilled cheeses are pretty good.
They are.
But it's a touch point, and it's a wonderful way for us to get out in the community, to meet people, to answer questions, and just to engage. And that's who we want to be, Chip. I mean, we're a utility and an electric provider, and we're proud of that, and we know it's important, but we want to make a positive difference in our community, be a contributor in our communities. It's our home too, so we want it to be as good as we can be, and to be something and somebody, some organization that really makes a difference.
Goals you have in mind over the next year to 5 years where do you want to see this utility go?
Yeah, so very simply and specifically, our member satisfaction, customer satisfaction, but we serve members, is measured by J.D. Power. And that's a very familiar kind of a household name. And we have a goal to be consistently in the top 5% of utilities nationally with J.D. Power. Right now, we're like 6 or 7%. Our goal a few years ago was to get in the top 10%. We got there, and now we're knocking on the door for top 5%. We want to be in that top 5%. Ultimately, we want to be number one. That's what we're striving towards. So it's all about satisfying our members, meeting their expectations. We want to get better. We're committed to getting better. Members should let us know how we can be better, but that's what we're pushing toward.
All right, MTE.com. You can always go there. If you have not downloaded the app for Middle Tennessee Electric, you need to do that, and you can follow, if you're nerdy like me, you can follow outages and that kind of thing, but you also can have information on your bill and also sign up for Sharing Change. So, Chris, thanks so much for spending some time. The last time you were here, we were talking about December 22nd of, 2022 when we had the big temperature drop. Who knows what our next conversation will be.
I'll look forward to it, whatever it is.
Exactly. Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir.
All right, if you missed any of this today, you can catch it on the podcast section of wgnsradio.com. Brian Barrett is standing by. He's coming up with Rutherford issues. So keep it here all day, all night on the Big G, WGNS.
Subscribe to Big G TV, local content that matters to Rutherford County.